Hey guys, it's back to the drugstore today. We are going to be reviewing the new L'Oreal Infallible Matte Cover Foundation. I know this has been out for a couple of months in some markets, but here in Singapore and I believe some parts of Asia, this is pretty new and it's only been out on the shelves for I think the last couple of weeks at the most. So I've tried the previous Infallible 24-hour matte foundation, the one in the slightly fatter and flatter packaging, and I didn't really like that. I found it a little bit too powdery and cakey and mask-like on the skin, so I didn't end up picking that up. This one I was curious about, however, because it does promise a more natural and weightless finish on the skin, so I picked up a tube to try out for you guys. In terms of drugstore long-wear foundations that I do like, I really like the Revlon Maximum Cover foundation in the tube. I also like Maybelline Superstay foundation. Unfortunately, both of these brands do not have a great shade selection and I don't have perfect matches for my skin. So when I saw the Infallible 24-hour matte cover range on display, I was pretty excited because even though it does not have a lot of shades, I think I saw a maximum of like 6 or 7 shades in total for Singapore, there were at least 3 shades, 103, 104 and 105, which looked like they might be suitable for my complexion. So I swatched them around, and please do swatch in store because the numbers do not go from light to deep. 103 is quite close to 105, just slightly different undertones, and 104 is deeper, slightly deeper, and a little bit more rosy than either of those 2 shades beside it. 102 and 101 were very much paler than 103. To make the confusion even worse, when I look online, there are about 20 shades available on global sites like lookfantastic.com. They have a completely different set of numbers.
Why, L'Oreal? Why?
Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get to the product specifications. This is a mattifying, high coverage, long wear foundation, which is light on the skin and super natural in texture. So it's supposed to give 24 hours of shine control and a matte finish. Very tall claim. Even if you can last for 24 hours, you don't usually stay matte and fresh looking for the whole 24 hours, if you get what I mean. The other thing is high concentration of pigments, ultra fluid texture for high coverage, and a second skin finish, non-comedogenic, and shake well before use. Now I ended up picking out the shade 105, which is more of a light medium golden undertone shade, and as I've learned after 1 year on YouTube, a shade that is just a little bit more golden and just a little bit deeper than your natural skin tone tends to look perfect on camera. So here goes. So because this is a slightly thicker and fuller coverage product, I usually do like to go in with a buffing brush to get a more even and lightweight finish on the skin. So I'm going to do a brush on one side and sponge on the other, and you'll see if there's any difference. Now there is a slight fruity floral kind of a fragrance. It's not too offensive, but just want to point that out in case you do not want any fragrances in your products at all. Now one coat does seem to do a pretty good job of evening out my skin tone. I would call this medium-high coverage at this point. Not full enough to really camouflage everything, but enough to sort of neutralize and even out a little bit of the discolorations under my eyes. It's not set to a fully matte finish yet at this point. There's a bit of a glow, a bit of a sheen to it. That may change in the next minute or so as it dries down further, but so far I do quite like this low satiny sheen. It's not emphasizing pores, but it's not really hiding them that much at this point either, and you would probably need a powder for that. If you have extremely oily skin or you're expecting a fully matte finish, this may not be up to your expectations. Sponge time. This is from Tarte. Now patting this on with a blender sponge does seem to give you a bit more coverage because the applicator is not sweeping product away, but that's true of any foundation product. So if you want more coverage and actually a slightly more matte finish, I would go with a sponge and just press around because this helps to lift off any extra moisture from the foundation, and it seems to make the pores a little bit less visible when I apply it this way. And we are done with the rest of the makeup. Very, very briefly, this is just a lot of AnnaSui makeup that I'm wearing on my face right now. Gorgeous, gorgeous blush, which looks like this. And this is my favorite thing. Beautiful burgundy and black matte eyeshadow. Very Chanel Rouge Noir. And of course on the lips, I have on number 200. So it's kind of sheer and it looks black in the tube, but it goes on beautifully violet. You can build up color where you want it to, or you leave it sheer like I did. And of course, a lot of this blue hue that you're seeing around my face is just some loose highlight pigment that I have. You can buy this kind of similar white blue shifting kind of pigment or highlighter from tons of brands. Zoeva, Kat Von D, she has that Prism palette, so many options if you want to recreate this. I'm just wearing what I call my super wing, and trust me, the fox eye has got nothing on the super wing. Anyway, all the makeup went on really smoothly on top of the foundation. I didn't have any problems blending my contour or my blush, and I did use a cream bronzer or contour product, which is Fenty's 01 Amber. So I have that here. It didn't shift my foundation. I didn't see any patchiness or any problems when I was blending it with a brush. And then of course the blush and highlight went on without any issues either. You know what? I actually forgot to powder. I'm gonna go in around my T-zone, minimal amounts. I don't want to really change the consistency of the foundation too much. But I'm surprised because this just means that in the past hour where I was fiddling with makeup, typing some emails, answering the door and all that, I didn't feel shiny enough that I noticed I wasn't wearing powder. But just so you know, if you have slightly drier skin, you can get away with no powder at all. So as usual, I'm gonna go head off now and I will check back in with you guys in a few hours just to let you know how the foundation is holding on. Hello guys, it is now 3:35 in the afternoon. I've been wearing the foundation for close to 4 hours now, so it's my customary check-in in daylight, no artificial light at all. Obviously you can see some shine already coming through in my oilier areas, so it's definitely not gonna stay matte for 24 hours, and this is the area where I actually powdered. Be comfortable, and it's not like the pores or lines are very, very apparent. It's not creased in my smile line, and even under the eyes where I usually tend to get dry creasing, it's looking all right. And I didn't powder the area either, so everything's sitting pretty nicely. What I will also point out is that my cream contour is looking like it's lasting a little bit better than I expected, considering that I didn't really powder over the cream product. We'll see how it goes at the end of the day. Obviously, I will check in again at the end. Okay guys, it is now 8 p.m. I have been wearing this foundation for a little over 8 hours at this point. I'm obviously not going to do the 24-hour wear test, even though this says 24-hour matte cover. I just did a bit of light static exercise for the past half hour, and I've mostly been sitting around, to be honest. So again, it's not been a very warm day. I haven't been sweating a whole lot except in the past 30 minutes or so, and you can see my eye makeup has not survived, but I really have to say the foundation is pretty impressive so far. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of shine around the nostrils and the inner cheek area, and I feel like the makeup is also worn off a little bit at the inner corners under my eyes, which is pretty common with foundations after a whole day of wear for me, because the skin there is pretty dry. So, you know, dry area and oilier area. So I'm gonna go in with my usual blot test now. So there we have it. To be honest, it's not a whole lot of oil considering how long this has been on and the fact that I've just been jumping around for the past half hour, and I'm just flipping it around to show you that there isn't actually any makeup transfer on this sheet. Maybe a teeny tiny bit from the nostril area, but most of the makeup is still on. Just looking in the mirror now, it is looking pretty much perfect around most of the areas, excluding the areas under my eyes where it's kind of worn off a little bit. Obviously, it's creased quite a bit under the eyes here as well. So obviously, this wouldn't be a great foundation if you have very, very dry skin. In fact, I would probably skip using it around my eye area because, you know, once it gets really dry and it creases with your expressions, the creases do stay there. But for my slightly oilier zones and the normal areas of my face, this has been looking perfect for a really, really long time. Even on my forehead, where, you know, I raise my brows, there is no sign of any creasing right now. For how much coverage it has, it feels like nothing on my face. I don't feel like I have a layer of something on. It's not transferring off onto my fingers, but then again, I do have slightly normal to dry skin. So even around my nose, it's not really transferring off that much. But of course, if you have very, very oily skin, you will need to powder this down, and a setting spray may help things a little bit more. I do find the texture to be a lot fresher and more skin-like than Maybelline Super Stay. I did manage to find a reasonable shade match for my skin tone this time round, but I do have to point out that there are only 6 or 7 shades available, and I really would love to see more, because if you just look at the swatches that I put up earlier, most of them are around the fair to medium tan kind of a range. If your skin tone is any deeper than that, you wouldn't find a match. So again, the shade representation is a little bit poor, offline at least. But otherwise, for how light and comfortable it feels, and the fact that it doesn't feel drying, even though it's kind of creased up under my eyes right now, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this even if you have slightly drier skin. I think that's it. I've covered pretty much every point that I wanted to, so I hope you guys found this helpful. If you've tried this foundation, let me know which shade you are and whether you like it or you don't. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!